tonight is the discussion about the right of minors, Saghir. When we call Saghir in Arabic language, those who are younger than you, they may be children or they may be youths, for example. So Imam Sajjad alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, the right of Saghir. Saghir, they could be also your children, okay, or the children of others in society. So in general, Imam, he says there are rights in relation to Saghir. Maybe they are your children. He says, وَأَمَّا حَقُّ الصَّغِيرِ. The right of Saghir is what? فَرَحْمَتُهُ. Whenever you see a child, you have to show mercy towards him. فَرَحْمَتُهُ. Youth, you have to show mercy towards them. وَتَثْقِيفُهُ. We have to train our children and our youths. This is our another responsibility. وَالْعَفْوُ عَنْهُ. We have to forgive them for their mistakes which they make. وَالسَّتْرُ عَلَيْهِ. And we have to hide their mistakes. These are the rights of Saghir. وَالرِّفْقُ بِهِ. When we are dealing with them, we should deal with children like as a friend. Okay? Because in friendship, of course, it is possible to show mercy towards them. وَالْمُعُونَةُ لَهُ. And likewise, we have to always showing kindness towards Saghir. وَالسَّتْرُ عَلَى جَرَائِرِ حَدَافَتِهِ. And children sometimes they commit mistakes which are related to their childhood. Okay, children, they make mistakes. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are, because not baligh, not adult. So Allah also ignores the mistakes of children up to the time of 15 years for men and 9 years for women. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His messenger, and Imam Sajjad alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, basically when children, because of their childhood, they commit any mistake, so you have to hide their mistakes in front of others. Sometimes parents, they get a habit to expose their children. Like for example, my child did so and so and so, that is not appropriate. You have to hide the faults of your children from others. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. فَإِنَّهُ سَبَبٌ لِلتَّوْبَةِ. If you hide their mistakes, so of course they are going to correct themselves. Okay? وَالْمُدَارَةُ لَهُ. And we have to show kindness towards them. وَتَرْكُ الْمُمَاكَهَةِ. We shouldn't be engaging ourselves with children in an argument. Okay? So there is no point doing argument with somebody who is minor or child. The Imam, he says, فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ أَدْنَى لِرُشْدِهِ. If you do all of these obligations, fulfill all of these haqq, so of course it will help the child to grow up and have a healthy future. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I mean, we have to recognize that our children, especially youths, we are discussing about the age from age 1 up to the age of 15. Sometimes elderly, old people, or for example parents or grandparents, they do not give respect to their children. But in the religion of Islam, we have to have respect to our own children as well. Because that's why, if you go back and you remember your childhood, every child has expectation of respect from elders. So children, normally they want, like for example, they want others, or elders to do salam to them in a way that they do salam to each other. Or like for example, they want to be welcomed like an adult, for example. So in Islam, it is highly recommended as you give respect to, like for example, people who are same to you in age, same respect should be given to the children as well. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Upbringing of minors, it is very important. There is a narration from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, "Al-waladu sayyidun sab'a sinin." Your son and children until the age of 7, from age 1, from the time of birth until the age of 7, completion of 7, they are your masters. They are your masters. And then he says, وَعَدٌ سَبْعَ سِنِينَ. And from 8 years up to completion of 14 years, another 7 years, they are going to be your abd, your servant. And then Imam, he says, Prophet, he says, وَوَزِيرٌ سَبْعَ سِنِينَ, and they are going to be from age up to 15 up to 21. They are going to be wazir to you. You know, the one who is advisor. But Rasulullah, he says, if you behave, bring your child in this manner, فَإِنَ رَضِيتَ خَلَائِقَهُ لِأَحْدَ عِشْرِينَ. So of course, this type of tarbiyah is going to work for you. So why Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, Rasulullah, he said, your child should be Sayyid, master to you up to the age of 7. Because after birth, children always they rely upon parents or those who are taking care of them, isn't it? So children, they rely, because they are weak, their bodies are weak, they do not have capability to understand what is good and what is wrong for them. So Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, basically he wants to say ask us to allow children to play for that duration of time. Okay, so there shouldn't be any restrictions. You know, you have to behave them, make them as your masters. So if they want to buy something, provide them. If they want to play, allow them to play. And this is what Islam says, because that is the duration of play and joy. Okay, so you have to allow your children up to the time of 7, completion of 7 years, to be your masters. But after 7 years, of course, they become stronger. You know, they are capable to understand what is right and what is wrong. After 7 years, they are capable to, like for example, speak whatever language they want to speak. So from 7 to age 14, completion of 14, Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, Rasulullah, he says, you have to deal with them like as if they are your slaves, abdun, which means children will not have like for example, opportunity to give their opinion. They should be fully 100% following their parents. Okay, from say age 7 up to the completion of age 14. And this period of time, it is responsibility of parents to provide them great and good future. But when 14 years are completed, okay, you allow them to play up to 17. And until 14 years, you know, you ask them to do everything which is good for them, for their future. Then from age of 15, Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, you have to consider your child as wazir. Please concentrate. You know, parents, unfortunately, sometimes they look at their children as a child while they are, like, for example, in their 30s or 40s. This is not correct in the religion of Islam. You know, when the child, when he completes age of 15, so you have to consider him as wazir. What is the position of wazir in any kingdom? Wazir is the one who is advisor, who take care of affairs in any kingdom, for example. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is saying, when your child is at the age of 15, ask him to engage in the responsibility of household. So of course, when he is engaged doing things as his father did or mother she does, so she is they are going to learn things from parents. So we have to take opinion of them from the age of 15. So that's why there is another great narration from Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. He says, "Da ibnak yal'ab sab'a sinin." Leave your child to play for 7 years. But you addab sab'a sinin, and then from age 7, beginning of 8, you have to teach him adab of Islam, education, whatever education is required, and especially adab of Islam. And mu'minin, that's why, you know, we don't have to wait until the time our children, they become baligh. You know, of course, at the age of 15, they are going to be baligh. But we have to teach them adab of Islam from the age of 8. So of course, when they are having practice of, like for example, hijab, practice of praying salat and doing fast, half-day fast, for example, so they will be prepared at the age of 15, so they can fully submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Then Imam, he says, وَأَلْزِمْهُ نَفْسَكَ سَبْعَ سِنِينَ. From 15 year of age, you have to, you know, keep your child with you. So whatever activities you are performing, you have to engage them. And sometimes, unfortunately, parents, they reject the opinions of children, although they are in age 15. they feel them that they are child. They don't know anything. You have to allow them. If they do mistakes, from mistakes we learn. So when Imam he says, "Alzimahu ma'aka," allow him to engage in your household opinions and decisions. And that's why, sometimes when you ignore your children, children, they also want themselves to prove. They want to prove themselves. So sometimes they take ways which are wrong ways to try to prove themselves to their parents that they are correct. Okay, so that makes sometimes for them to choose a wrong path. Okay, so we have to engage them. And when it comes to the mistakes, our children, our youths, they do mistakes. So Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, he said to us, you shouldn't be always blaming and criticizing your children. Because always blaming and criticizing children, it is also not going to work. You have to forgive their mistakes in a way that you forgive them and you ask them not to repeat and give the explanation. There are beautiful narrations from Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, that how we have to deal when our children, minors, they are committing a mistake. Imam Ali, he says, "Talbihu zallatil aqili lahu amaddu min iqabih." When I see someone is doing mistake, this is for children and adult as well. So if I give a hint to a man that he is committing a sin or wrongdoing, instead of pointing him openly, it is better. Because if you give ishara, Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, that is more effective instead of saying openly or showing mistakes of other openly towards them. When children, they, like for example, make mistakes, parents, they start, like for example, arguing and blaming again and again. That is not also correct approach. Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, "Al-ifratu fil malamati." Malamats, that is Urdu word as well. Blaming someone, blaming your child, continuously blame. Tashubbu niran al-lajaj. It will, blaze the fire of enmity and stubbornness. Okay, so if we see any mistake, we have to first of all stop blaming or criticizing. We have to show the mistakes to everyone in hint or in pleasant way. And sometimes people, they continuously, the behavior is to blame others, for the mistakes. They continuously, they blame others. So for them as well, Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, "Iyaka an tukarrir al-'afw." Don't frequently be angry or start blaming others, especially minors. فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ يُغْرِدِ الدَّمَ. If you do taunting, blaming your child again and again, it will make him to be dare to commit more sins or wrongdoing. And finally, what will happen at a point, they will stop listening to you at all. So continuous blame or criticizing children on their mistake is not appropriate way. So this is in relation to their mistakes of minors. In relation to, for example, education, the environment of education is very important. That's why always we say in Hawza Ilmiya, and the environment of education which we provide to our children should be encouraging environment. So that's why if you spend much of your time before choosing any school, even academic school, you have to do search, even 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. If the school is better, so of course the akhlaq of child is going to be better. The education, his future is going to be bright. We say in Hawza, even in Hawza Ilmiya Qom, for example, we say, we are allowed to choose teachers in different subjects. Ulama in Hawza Ilmiya Najaf, or for example in Iran as well, they have choice for a single subject. There are a variety of, like for example, ulama, they are teaching, we choose our teacher for our own selves. So Why we say that they give us this opportunity? Because if the ustad is the best, the teacher is the best, so he is going to, of course, teach you in better way. So environment of education is very important. Unfortunately, in our societies, if you go to Pakistan and India, children in madrasa or even in schools, they have environment of threat, or teachers make children to be afraid. When a child is not memorizing certain things at school, they are scared to come back to school or rejoin the school. That is not the adab and akhlaq of Islam. Islam always is teach us to give the education, especially education of Islam, in lovely environment. And that's why sometimes children, they forget. Allow them to forget. Of course, because they are children. As being adult, sometimes we have learned a lot of things. We did the course. Like for example, people, they are doctors. They are the one who, like for example, engineers. It is not necessary to always be to remember everything at every point. So in our schools environment, in our education environment, if teachers, they see that children, they have forgotten, so sometimes it's normal. Sometimes people, they have good intellect, so they memorize more. Some people, they have less capacity intellectual wise, so of course they forget things. So that's why one day Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam, in relation to Islamic education, Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam, he called his own sons, the sons of his brothers, and he said to them, Innahum sigaru qawmin, you are now minors, you are children of this nation. وَيُوشَكُ أَن تَكُونُوا كِبَارَ قَوْمٍ آخَرِينَ, and in new future, inshallah, you are going to be old, man of other nations. فَتَعَلَّمُ الْعِلْمِ, so gain knowledge. This is the time of childhood where you have to gain knowledge. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ مِنْكُمْ أَنْ يَحْفَظَهُ فَلْيَكْتُبْهُ, and then Imam, he says, if among you there is a one who is not capable to memorize, then whatever you listen in front of your teacher, just write what you have learned. Okay? So sometimes, teachers, they start to do mockery. In class, that student, he memorized well. And the other one, he's not capable to memorize. This is not the way of teaching in Islam. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam clearly said, there are many people, students who are very much sharp. If you say them once, they are going to memorize things. But if there are some students who are not capable, appreciate them to write. So Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, وَلَيَضَعُ فِي بَيْتِهِ, write and keep it at your house, because that is education which you have written. And whenever you are in need, you go and refer to the books which you have written. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And even Aimma Tahrin alayhi salatu wasalam, when I say there is a distance between ulama and, for example, our youths or people, I say because there is some hesitation that should be totally avoided. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he is the one about whom Allah said, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةٍ لِلْعَالَمِينَ, we have not sent you except as a rahmatul lil alamin. So Rasulullah environment around him of education, every Sahabi was like, for example, was feeling easy to communicate or engage into the communication with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And even some of them were there to insult Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Rasulullah was very much humble. So he is the great teacher of Islam. So that's why narrator narrates that one day, Ja'a rajulun atan nabi, a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yukallimu, he wanted to have communication with him, Rasulullah. فَقُرْعِدَ, and then he became afraid and scared with haybat and jalalat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he was not capable to communicate with Rasulullah. So Rasulullah replied, فَقَالَ هَوِّنْ عَلَيْكَ, you have to be easy. فَلَسْتُ بِمَلِكٍ, I am not the king. If you want to be afraid, I am not the king. Because people generally, they are afraid of king, because kings are oppressors. If you do mistake, they can, like for example, punish you. But Rasulullah said, I am Rasulullah, not a king. So if you hesitate, of course you are not going to engage with the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or it will be difficult for you to gain knowledge from him. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So parents, teachers, when they are teaching children, there shouldn't be any kind of hesitation between them. And that's why Rasulullah, he says, I remember my uncle who passed away, may Allah shower blessings on him. Always he used to play with children. He was age 60, 65. I saw him every time when he meets a child, he's playing with them. So I said, why you are playing? He used to reply, because children, they want elders, even elderly people, to play with them because they enjoy it. And he used to work on this narration of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is the great narration. Says, Man kana indahu sabi, those who have children, Man kana indahu sabi, falyatasab lahu. So be like a child towards your children. When you behave with them, especially for 7 years, beginning 7 years, if you become child with your children, so of course there will be strong connection which is not going to be broken at any point in your life. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali. And of course we have to show love and compassion towards our children. Sometimes, I remember in certain societies, fathers especially, they do not feel like, for example, good for them to hold their child or kiss them or show love towards them. In certain societies, there is a barrier between children, minors, and parents or grandparents. That is also not accepted. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he showed how we have to love minors. He put Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam on his right shoulder and Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam on left shoulder, and kissing them and praising them. So this should be a behavior of parents and grandparents towards their children when it comes to show mercy towards them. There is a narration says, Kana Nabi idha asbaha, whenever Rasulullah used to wake up at morning, masaha ala ru'use walade, he used to put his hand on the heads of children. When you put hand upon their head, so they will feel good and they feel that parents are in connection with them. So this was a habit of Rasulullah. We should practice this for our children. And even Rasulullah, he used to do the same with his grandchildren as well, which means Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Now when it comes to the rights of minors, saghir, youth and children, so we also have to take care about the minors of others. Within this category we discuss especially about aitam, yatim of other people. So of course, being yatim and orphan, it is very much difficult. You have to understand the feeling of a child who was, like for example, with his father for a duration and he lost him. So that is very much difficult for children, orphan children, because whenever they are in need, they ask for the need to their parents, especially father. When there is no father, there is painful period for children. So that's why yatama, minors in the religion of Islam, for yatama there is lot of emphasis. And that's why Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, in one of his wasiyah, he says, Allah fil aitam, you have to take care about yatim. It is responsibility of every individual. And that's why in Quran Majid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he spoke many places on many occasions about yatama. He says in Quran Majid, لَيْسَ الْبِرَّ أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبَلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. What is the definition of righteousness? Bir. So Allah says, bir, righteousness is not only that when it is at the time of salat, you face your to the direction of east or west. This is not the only definition of righteousness. وَلَكِنَّ الْبِرَّ, what is the definition of righteousness? مَنْ آمَنَ بِاللَّهِ, believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ, believing in hereafter. وَالْمَلَائِكَةِ, righteousness is to believe in malaika. وَالْكِتَابِ, believing in kitab. وَالنَّبِيِّينَ, believing in prophets alayhi salatu wasalam. And righteousness is what mu'minin, وَآتَ الْمَالَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ, in love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to spend wealth upon our relatives, dhawil qurba wal yatama. So Allah says righteousness is to spend your wealth upon yatim and miskin. And it is the habit of kuffar to keep away from them, not to allow, like for example, help towards aitam. Allah says in Quran, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. Did you see a man who denies the existence of a hereafter, about Qiyamah? فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُ الْيَتِيمِ. He is the one who drives away yatim from himself. So that's why he highly encourage us to take care of minor yatims. فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ. Do not humiliate yatama. وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. And do not reject when someone is asking you. He is sa'il and he came to you. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْيَتَامَى. O Rasul, people, they ask you about yatim. قُلْ إِصْلَاحُ لَهُمْ خَيْرٌ. Set right with their affairs. وَإِن تُخَالِطُوهُمْ فَإِخْوَانُهُمْ. If you intermingle with them, they are your brothers. فَإِخْوَانُكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, amazing word. If a man, he left yatama, they have a relation with you. They are your brothers in Islam. فَإِخْوَانُكُمْ. صَلَّى عَلَى Muhammad. Rasulullah, he says, of course we have yatim khana, okay, but it is highly recommended, appreciated in Islam to, if we can sponsor, if we bring a child from yatim khana to our house and give them the environment of household, that is highly recommended. Because of course yatim khana, of course all yatama, they live there, but they feel something lack, which is love of parents. If you bring yatim to your house, of course he will be with your children, for example. Your children are, like for example, getting Eid, libas, everything, so they are sharing, getting the love of parents, although they don't have parents. That's why, according to the narration, we understand that if you bring a yatim to your house, that is better than sponsoring them in yatim khana. And for reward, Rasulullah said one day, قال بأصبعه أنا وكافل اليتيم في الجنة هكذا. These two fingers, Rasulullah, these two fingers are together. Okay? So Rasulullah said, the one who take care of yatama, take their responsibility of, like for example, eating, drinking, shelter, whatsoever it's needed, is kafil, responsible guide for a yatim. So he will be like this to me on the day of judgment in Jannah. Which means these two fingers are always together. So the one who takes care of a kafil, become kafil of one yatim, is going to be with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the status of Rasulullah on the day of judgment. And one event, and I would like to conclude because we don't have much time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He commanded two prophets to take care of the wealth of yatim. You remember Surah Kahf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Janab Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and Janab Khizr. Janab Musa was asked by Allah to go to Khizr and gain some education. You are familiar with those verses. So, when he killed a man, Janab Khizr, a young man, so he made objection, Janab Musa. So Janab Khizr, he said, I accepted you as my student with the condition that you are not going to argue or even ask me a single question. So they were traveling, both of them. So Janab Musa and Khizr entered to a Qarya village. They saw a wall is tilted and it is very much close to be destroyed. So before that, when they entered into the village as being prophet, I don't remember if those people of village, they recognize them as prophet or not, but they asked them to provide these two prophets themselves. They asked them to give bread, so they denied. They said, we are not going to provide you with food. At that point, Janabi Khizr asked Musa, get ready, get prepared, because we want to fix this wall, okay, which is very much close to fell down. So Janabe Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, why we have to provide such service to a people of village who are not ready to give us a single bread? So Janabe Khizr said, you have to do what I'm asking you. Okay. So they built the wall, and later on, Janabe Khizr explained to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, there was treasure under that wall belonged to two yatim of this nation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to protect their wealth, because wealth of yatim, it is very important. So that's why Allah asked us, Janabi Musa is Ulul Azm Payghambar. Allah asked them to be in the service of yatama and build wall for yatim children. So we can understand that what are the importance in the religion of Islam when it comes to the idea of helping yatama in our society. With this, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us strength and tawfiq to fulfill all wajibat and all huquq which are related to each other. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us and our marhumeen. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the appearance of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam. I would like to request you to recite Surah al-Mubarakat al-Fatiha for marhumeen of tonight's sponsors. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
صلاة المغرب.
الله أكبر
الله
بسم
أكبر.
الله الرحمن الرحيم
الله أكبر.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر بحمد الله وقوته يقوى بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته في أمته وارفع درجته بحمد الله وقوته يرجو الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد يا لطيف ارحم عبدك والضعيف الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله والحمد لله وخير الأسماء لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا علي يا عظيم يا غفور يا رحيم. أنت رب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. وهذا شيء عظمته وكرمته وشرفته وفضلته على الشهور. وهو شهر الذي فرضت صيامه علي. وهو شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس بينات من الهدى والفرقان. وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خير من ألف شهر. فيا ذا المن ولا يمن عليك. من علي بفكاك رغبتي من النار في من تمن عليه وادخلني الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على
Mu'mineen, Assalamu alaikum. Wanted to start by recognizing and thanking our sponsors for this evening's iftar, which are the families of late Abba Mohsen Abbas. Please do join me in praying for these families and especially for the marhum. Tomorrow's iftar, inshallah, will be hosted by the families of Hassan Rizvi, Abid Jafri, Shahin Shah Hussain, and late Shafiq Murtaza Naqvi. Please join us tomorrow with Maulana speech beginning at 7:30 p.m. Also, as you know, today we will be observing the Suyum Majlis for marhum Muhammad Ahsan Jafri, son of Wafat Hussain Jafri. That Majlis will begin after iftar, promptly at 9:30 p.m. with the recitation of Surah Yasin, followed by the Majlis, which will be recited by Maulana Mirza Muhammad Jawad Sahab. Then a couple of other announcements regarding upcoming programs. Tomorrow, being Sunday, first Sunday of the month, we'll be having our monthly Majlis at the graveyard. This will be in the Masjid Ali section beginning at 11 a.m. tomorrow. And then finally, this coming Friday, May 9th, 2022, will be the annual Janatul Bakhi protest. This will be held in person in Washington, D.C. again this coming Friday, May 9th, Monday, May 9th at 1 p.m. And for more information, you can see Maulana Nasir Hussain. But Muhammad wa ali Muhammad Salawat.
Please start with the Mubarak Fatiha for following Mahmoudin, Agha Mohsin Abbas, Zakiya Sultana Begum, Maimuna Khatun, Agha Ahsan Abbas, Hasina Begum, Mirza Muhammad Shafi, Zareen Shafi, Sayyid Kazim Ali Zaidi, Sayyid Qaisar Abbas, Razi Hussain, Sarwat Jahan, Rahat Ali Khan, Hamida Banu, Agha Afsar Abbas, Agha Sayyid Abbas, Shakida Abbas. Bismillah. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. اللهم صل على الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن علي ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة وقد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
صلاة العشاء
الله أكبر
الله أكبر
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر الحمد لله وقوته يقوم وآخر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد رب اجعل لي مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحق الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله الله أكبر بحمد الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد الله أكبر سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد يا من له الدنيا والآخرة ارحم من ليس له الدنيا والآخرة. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله. الحمد لله وخير الأسماء لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. اللهم صل على محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا علي ويا عظيم يا غفور يا رحيم أنت رب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. وهذا شيء عظمته وكرمته وشرفته وفضلته على الشهور. وهو شهر الذي فرضت صيامه علي وهو شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس بينات من الهدى والفرقان. وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خير من ألف الشهر. فيا ذا المن فلا يمن عليك من علي بفكاك رغبتي من النار في من فمن عليه وادخلني الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ومن ملوية سنبنيه فدعاء افتتاح